It was a quiet Sunday morning in a peaceful suburban neighborhood in Colorado. The streets were calm, the sun had just started rising, and most people in the neighborhood were beginning their normal routines. Some were walking their dogs, some were watering their lawns, and children were slowly coming outside to ride their bikes. Everything seemed completely normal, but within the next hour, the entire neighborhood would become the center of a horrifying crime scene, because inside one house at the end of Maple Drive, something terrible had already happened. The house belonged to the Carter family. To everyone around them, they were the perfect American family. Mark Carter was a successful financial advisor who worked at a respected investment firm. His wife, Emily Carter, worked as a part-time elementary school teacher. She was known as a kind and caring woman who loved helping children learn. Together, they had two kids, 10-year-old Sophie, a bright and cheerful girl who loved drawing and reading mystery books, and 7-year-old Daniel, an energetic boy who loved soccer and video games. To neighbors, the Carter family looked happy, successful, and peaceful. But on that Sunday morning, everything suddenly changed. At exactly 7:18 a.m., the local police department received a 911 call. The caller was Mark Carter. His voice sounded shaky and panicked. He told the operator that something was terribly wrong. According to him, when he woke up that morning, he found his wife lying unconscious on the bedroom floor, and when he checked on the children, they were also unresponsive in their beds. The operator immediately instructed him to check their breathing, but Mark claimed he couldn't feel anything. Within minutes, police officers and paramedics rushed to the Carter house. When they arrived, Mark was waiting outside. He looked pale, nervous, and visibly shaken. Paramedics quickly ran inside the house, but what they found upstairs was devastating. Emily Carter was lying on the bedroom floor. She wasn't breathing. In the children's room, Sophie and Daniel were lying motionless in their beds. Paramedics tried desperately to revive them, but after several minutes of attempts, the heartbreaking reality became clear. All three family members were dead. Police immediately sealed the house as a crime scene. Yellow tape surrounded the property. Neighbors watched in shock as police cars and ambulances filled the street. No one could believe what had happened. How could an entire family die overnight inside their own home? At first, investigators considered the possibility of carbon monoxide poisoning. It had happened before in other cases. But when technicians inspected the house, they found something unusual. The carbon monoxide detectors were working perfectly, and none of them had been triggered. That meant something else had caused the deaths. Detectives began carefully examining the house. There were no broken windows, no forced entry, no signs of a struggle. Nothing appeared stolen, which meant whoever was responsible had likely been inside the house already. And there was only one person left alive inside that home, Mark Carter. At first, Mark told investigators that the previous night had been completely normal. The family had dinner together around 7 in the evening. After dinner, Emily helped the kids with their homework while Mark watched television in the living room. Around 10 o'clock, everyone went to bed. Mark said he woke up the next morning and found Emily on the floor. Then he discovered the children in their room. He insisted he had no idea what had happened. For a moment, detectives considered the possibility that he was telling the truth. But as the investigation continued, new details began to surface, and those details slowly started to change everything. When detectives looked deeper into Mark's life, they discovered serious financial problems. His investment firm had recently lost several major clients, and behind the scenes, Mark had secretly accumulated massive debt, credit cards, personal loans, and failed investments. Altogether, Mark owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that wasn't the most shocking discovery. Investigators also found that just a few months earlier, Mark had taken out large life insurance policies on his wife and children. The total value of those policies was nearly $2 million. Now the case was starting to look very different. Days later, the medical examiner released the autopsy report. The results were disturbing. Emily, Sophie, and Daniel had not died from poisoning. Instead, tests revealed they had been given a powerful sedative. After they lost consciousness, they had been suffocated. The deaths were officially ruled as homicide. Now investigators knew for certain this was not an accident. Someone had deliberately murdered the entire family, and all evidence continued pointing in one direction: Mark Carter. Police then began reviewing security camera footage from nearby houses. One camera captured something interesting. At around 2:14 in the morning, Mark was seen leaving the house and walking into the garage. He returned about 20 minutes later carrying a small bag. When detectives asked him about this, Mark claimed he didn't remember going to the garage. He suggested he might have been sleepwalking, but investigators weren't convinced. Then they discovered something even more disturbing: Mark's internet search history. On his laptop, detectives found several suspicious searches made just 3 days before the murders. Searches like, "How long does it take to suffocate someone?" "How strong are sleeping pills?" and "How long does life insurance take to pay out?" At that moment, detectives knew they were getting close to the truth. They brought Mark in for another interrogation. This time they confronted him with all the evidence: the financial records, the insurance policies, the surveillance footage, and the internet searches. At first, Mark tried to deny everything, but after several hours, his story began falling apart. Eventually, he broke down, and what he confessed shocked everyone in the room. Mark admitted that he had been drowning in debt. He was terrified that he would lose his job, his house, and his reputation. Instead of asking for help, he began thinking about the life insurance money. Late that night, Mark crushed sleeping pills and mixed them into hot chocolate for his family. Emily and the kids drank it before going to bed. After they fell asleep, Mark went into their rooms one by one and suffocated them: his own wife, his own daughter, his own son, all for money. The case quickly became national news. People across the country were horrified. How could a father do something so cruel to his own family? During the trial, prosecutors described Mark Carter as a man driven by greed and desperation. They argued that he carefully planned the murders to collect the insurance money. The defense tried to argue that Mark had suffered a mental breakdown due to financial stress, but the evidence was overwhelming. After only 5 hours of deliberation, the jury reached their verdict. Mark Carter was found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Today, the Carter house still stands at the end of Maple Drive, but no one has lived there for years. Neighbors say the house feels different now: quiet, empty, like it still holds the memory of what happened inside. The Carter family once looked perfect to everyone around them, but sometimes the darkest secrets are hidden behind the most ordinary doors. And in this case, the real danger was never outside the house. It was already inside.